Hey, how's it going, captains? Admiral Tori here, and welcome aboard for another World of Warships video on my channel. In today's video, I will be taking a look at the Tier 10 Italian heavy cruiser, the Venezia. So this is a follow-up from the previous video where I discussed about the Italian tech tree line. Just to recap my thoughts and experience from grinding out the Italians, I did not enjoy the grind that much. Things became okay at Tier 8. Tier 9 with the Brindisi was a lot better than Tier 8. It was somewhat enjoyable at times, and other times still dreadful. But Tier 10 with the Venezia, this thing is a completely different beast compared to any other Italian cruisers I played. And right there, opening up with almost a 16,000 damage salvo with this ship. And the reason I say that is because normally when you play a tech tree, it progresses. You know, you get some kind of improvement throughout each tier. And in the case from the Brindisi to the Venezia, this ship is a massive improvement from the Brindisi. And there's two things that stand out. The first thing that is obvious is that the Venezia, the reason why you probably go down the line for the Italians is because the Venezia has a lot of guns. 15 203mm guns. We're talking about heavy cruiser guns mounted on a ship like this. This ship is longer than a lot of battleships. It's actually longer than the Iowa, but still a cruiser because the width and the overall armor scheme on this ship, which is the second thing that is a massive improvement from all the Italians. So armor has been an issue with me when it comes to playing the Italians. They are basically Royal Navy light cruiser with heavy cruiser guns, or more specifically Mogamis, and that's how I see them. Armor improvement is very rare when I was grinding down the Italian cruiser line, and practically every battleship that I face, I have to cross my fingers that a random AP shell would not citadel me or just sink into a portion of the ship where it's full penetration, giving a lot of damage, doing a lot of damage to the ship. Venezia, this is the thing I really like about the Venezia. All over the ship, from the mid section of the hull to the waterline of the main belt, including the bow and portion of the stern, is 40mm. And that's very important. The reason why is because the average caliber at high tier is 406mm, which are 16-inch guns that you find on the Montana. What else? You got the French. Even the Yamato guns, they overmatch 32mm, but they will not overmatch 40mm. Which means that if you angle correctly and the shell does land in the sections of the ship that's 40mm, you can effectively just negate battleship shells. And this is the way I play with my Venezia. Ideally, you should be playing Venezia like the French cruiser, where you're kiting all over the place, you're moving and dodging. But with the Venezia, I try to fiddle with the accelerator and use that 40mm of armor and angle against battleships and just punish them. And again, SAP, I talked about this in the previous video. These type of shells eat the crap out of American battleship armor, as you notice when I'm harassing the Georgia. They're absolutely nasty. They give you better return than using AP shells on a broadside, since the damage is higher on the maximum end. But AP, the only case that AP is better than SAP, from my experience, is that you're going to get a Citadel on a cruiser. Then obviously you want to switch to AP. But yes, the SAP maximum damage is higher than AP. So I'm angling, trying my best to angle against the Georgia's 457mm. And they are bouncing, but there are a few shells that I got unlucky with, and they managed to sink right through the stern or deck armor of this ship. But man, having 15 203mm guns is just crazy to see, because at most is usually 12 guns. And the Venezia, this is what makes the Venezia one of the coolest looking ships in World of Warships right now. In my opinion, it's probably the best looking cruiser from what I've seen so far. Probably the second best looking cruiser might be, I don't know, the Des Moines. I like the Des Moines. The Worcester looks cool. Hindenburg looks Hindenburg actually looks alright to me, because when I look at the Hindenburg, I think of an Admiral Hipper with 12 guns instead of 8. But the Venezia, it's long, it has 15 of these guns, and the broadsides are nasty. And right there, here's a perfect example of using AP. When a cruiser show broadside, just use AP. So the problems I have with the Venezia, let's talk about the problems, because I've been talking about a lot of the good stuff about it. But the biggest problem is obviously the length of the ship, which means that you have a long citadel, which I discussed in the Italian cruiser video, which makes them very fragile at broadside. The turn radius, since the ship is long, the turn radius is unfortunately going to be take a while before you can even complete a full U-turn, so you're very vulnerable showing broadside, which is why you want to use the smoke whenever you can, or you must use the smoke in situations where battleships have your broadside. I mean, it's just the safest option. Just use it, because you can easily get removed from the game. Now, unfortunately, as I'm speaking, the new patch is out, which is 0.9.7. And they recently nerfed the rudder by a second, the rudder shift time, which doesn't sound that much, but it is still a nerf. The other nerf I'm going to talk about is the guns. So again, you have 15 of these guns, massive broadside, heaviest broadside you can find in a cruiser at the moment. But before the nerf, the downside of using the Venezia guns is that it takes 20.5 seconds to reload. Now, with this patch, 0.9.7, they actually nerfed it by another 0.5 seconds, which is minuscule, but it's still a nerf again. So now it's 21 seconds to reload without the upgrade. As a result, the Venezia is the slowest reloading cruiser to play at the moment. And that's the price you pay for having a massive broadside like this ship. And right there, I took out that Odin. So again, American battleships, look for them. You're gonna do a lot of damage. German battleships, you're going to struggle. American cruisers, surprisingly, especially against Des Moines, I actually have pretty good results. Maybe because Des Moines want to get that dirt turret in the back going, but the moment any cruiser shows enough angle to fire their rear guns, your SAP should be able to do full penetration if you aim well, in most cases. But if they bow on, of course, your SAP, which the biggest problem with SAP is that they're just going to automatically bounce and give you poor return. Unlike the Royal Navy light cruiser, where they have a high rate of fire, the Venezia, again, having a slow rate of fire, yeah, any ship that is able to angle is going to just negate most of your firepower. The other problem I have with the Venezia is the concealment. And as a result, with the poor concealment, I had to go for the range upgrade. I tried using the reload upgrade, but in most cases when I get into my maximum range, a lot of people start to focus me. Especially when a destroyer is up in front, able to spot me before I even get into range with another ship. So I decided to use the range upgrade and treat the Venezia like a sniper, in a sense, which is a problem in terms of how I rank the Venezia. Venezia is a very fun cruiser. It does a lot of damage when you get the game going, like this game. I'm getting the Venezia going with the correct crossfire, the correct positioning. It's a powerful ship, just the same way as saying that German battleships are powerful if people play into your advantage, as in charge against a German ship and get into their secondary range. With the Venezia, people, if you leave the Venezia alone and let the Venezia get the angle, it's going to do well and do a lot of damage. But the biggest problem, aside from the things I have listed before, is that the Venezia definitely does not have utility, which is a big thing for practically majority of the cruisers I see at tier 10, tier 9. Radar, hydroacoustic search, what else? Spotter plane, I guess, and what? Defensive AA? There's just a lot of important consumables, especially hydroacoustic search. As a result, Venezia struggles when it comes to objective or strategic play. It is really a selfish ship. It's basically the Conqueror Dunderer of cruisers, as I see it, because most Dunderer and Conquerors, they sit at range and they just sling HE. So in the case of the Venezia, she's going to be slaying a lot of SAP out in the distance. How much you can do on the objective compared to like a Des Moines, which happens to have great concealment that matches its radar range by roughly 1 kilometer, is day and night, because Des Moines can have a bigger impact in a game compared to the Venezia. But the Venezia, from what I've seen, is a better ship when it comes to doing damage when facing a one-on-one, especially when you're facing a Des Moines and you're in a Venezia. You do have quite a bit of firepower in punishing those cruisers. And to prove the point, Alaska right here is a perfect example. When Alaska shows enough broadside just to get that rear turret going, you will notice how nasty these guns can pull off some serious damage for having 15 of these guns. To my surprise, because coming from the Brindisi, I didn't really, well, I did feel the improvement compared to Amalfi, since Amalfi only had 9 guns and Brindisi had 12, which is more workable. But I didn't expect it to be that big of a massive jump in firepower with 15. And right there's a big salvo on the Alaska. Alaska proceeds to show more broadside here. But yeah, I'm just punishing these ships. Another great thing about the Venezia is, of course, I don't think I mentioned it, is the speed. It goes up to, what, roughly 35, 36 knots, which is destroyer level of speed on average. The fast destroyers are, of course, around 40 knots, but the average speed from what I've seen is 35 knots. 35 to 38. So right here, I'm picking up speed. I'm trying not to show too much broadside because Alaska is slinging some AP, and at any moment that random AP shell will stick to the citadel of the ship. Again, the ship's citadel is quite large. Got some more penetration on the Alaska. Now I'm pushing up, and this entire game, if you notice on the minimap, I've been positioned with the perfect crossfire, and that's what you should be doing with the Venezia or any Italian, getting the flank. Of course, again, can't really do much on the objective. The only thing I can do on the objective at best is if a friendly destroyer or a cruiser spot a enemy destroyer, and as the story goes, SAP makes destroyers have citadel. And with 15 guns, you can bet that you can devastate strike a lot of destroyers at this tier if they show enough broadside or make themselves an easy target for these guns. Looks like the Alaska will be taken out at some point here. I'm gonna fire another big salvo. Let's see if this hits. No, just a little bit off on the few other shells that I could have finished off the Alaska, but I did get 5 solid hits. And looks like Alaska is gonna turn into the border again because she's afraid of those shells. Let's see if we can get another hit on the Alaska. Ah, that was bad. That was really bad. The friendly of Seattle is trying really hard to secure the Alaska, but I'm going to make sure to secure it before she secures it from me. So Alaska, I'm gonna predict she's gonna turn again, and that should do it. That looks good. Looks very good. There, we got it. We got the highest. Surprisingly, I'm already at 200,000 damage, and I finally got my first award, first medal. It looks like the game's going to end this way, with the Rune being the last person alive. The friendly carrier is going to take out the Rune, I think. But aside from that, Venezia, one of my most favorite destroyers to play, but in terms of competitively speaking, well, being useful on the battlefield strategically, it's not that great. Aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time on World of Warships.